Good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome to APRC. My name is David Daw and I'm the conference secretary. I'd like to remind you just briefly, again, about Zoom tips for the meeting. First, for best speaking and listening sound, please use a plugged-in headset instead of the computer's audio system. When speaking, please remove your mask. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. In order to see the speaker on a bigger screen, please remember to select speaker view instead of gallery view in the upper right corner of your Zoom screen. Interventions during all sessions, except for agenda item 11, will be on a first come, first served basis. To request to make an intervention, please use the raise hand function in Zoom, and the Zoom software will indicate to the Secretariat the order in which hands were raised. Please note that on your own computer, you will be shown at the top of the list of participants. However, it is important to note that this does not mean that you were the first one to raise your hand. Furthermore, some delegations may raise their hand using software other than Zoom and convey this to the Secretariat. So based on all of this information, the chair will determine the order of speaking, and we ask for your indulgence in this regard. To express appreciation for a speech or intervention, please use the clapping hand icon. If you step away from the computer, please stay connected to this Zoom link, or we will have to process you through the waiting room again. For any urgent assistance, please send an email to aprc35@fao.org, and we will respond as quickly as possible. Finally, the order of the day and other information for APRC are available at the APRC website. Thank you. I would now like to hand the meeting to the chair, the Honorable Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forests of the Royal Government of Bhutan, Dasho Rinzin Dorji. Honorable Secretary, Dasho Dorji, you have the floor.
Thank you, David. Good morning and good afternoon to all the participants who are there at the conference. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome back to this final but a very important segment of the regional conference. We have just about an hour to discuss on the senior officers report of the senior officers meeting, and I believe this is a tough job. Nonetheless, I've been also told that this has already been built on through consensus, and we should not have any problem in terms of adoption of the report of the senior officers meeting. So once again, welcome to the meeting, and I would like to inform all the distinguished delegates that the relevant document is the report of the SOM prepared by the drafting committee. The document and its translations of the report has been circulated to all the distinguished delegates. In this respect, I would now like to ask the rapporteur, Ms. Vanida, to present the draft report for the consideration of the meeting. Ms. Vanida, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to present the final draft of the SOM report to members for adoption. As the Chair said, the report has gone through intense pre-conference and in-meeting consultations. Thanks are due to all the countries for their valuable intervention during the session on all the items and the comments on the report that were received beforehand. I would like to thank all the 18 countries in the drafting committee for their hard work, which ensure that these excellent inputs and comments received have been incorporated into the document that will guide FAO's strategic direction and work in this region. I will briefly summarize the content of the report. The initial paragraph referred to the introductory items. The decision to use the virtual modality to organize this regional conference for the first time in FAO's history is covered in the very first paragraph. The Secretariat will add in the details of number of countries, organizations, and entities who attend this meeting at the end of the session. We then have short summaries of the excellent inauguration speeches delivered by the Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Forests, Bhutan, and the Assistant Director General of FAO, RAP. This is followed by a description of the election of chairperson, vice chairperson, and the rapporteur. Page 2 to page 11 is the heart of this report and will also form a substantial part of the full conference report that will be adopted by Honorable Minister tomorrow. It consists of the conclusions and recommendations provided by members to FAO on critical and priority issues in the region. They were provided on the basis of the following technical papers. The impact of COVID-19 on food and agriculture in Asia and the Pacific and FAO's response. State of the food and agriculture in Asia and the Pacific region, including future prospects and emerging issues. Setting regional priorities to manage water for agriculture under conditions of water scarcity. Building resilience of small-scale fisheries to ensure food security and nutrition in the Pacific. Building sustainable and resilient food system in the Asia and the Pacific. Results and priorities for FAO activities in the region. Decentralized office network. Multi-year program of work 2020-2023 for the FAO Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific. The Secretariat would like to acknowledge an oversight of their part in referring to the MyPow being for the period 2020 to 21. It is a document already approved by FAO's governing body for 2020 to 23, and that error has been corrected. The final part of the report refers to the graceful offer of the government of Bangladesh to host the next APRC in 2022 and its acceptance by this APRC. I would like to conclude this brief presentation of the SOM reports by again thanking and complimenting all members for their constructive inputs. I thank the chair and the vice chair of the APRC for guiding the members, the rapporteur and the secretariat all through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Benida. I would like to offer my sincere thanks to Ms. Benida for your clear and concise presentation of the report of the senior officers meeting. I would also like to express our gratitude to the members of the senior officers meeting for the hard work they have done in the past 2 days in deliberating on the important issues identified for this conference. As I said, over the last 2 days, the senior officers meeting report was forged by consensus among the representatives of the ministers at the highest level. We have gone through an extensive and iterative process that commenced 2 weeks before the conference started. The draft SOM report from yesterday has already undergone intensive consultations and was agreed upon by the drafting committee on day 1 and day 2. Overall, about 18 countries joined the drafting committee, and I have been informed that the members held robust and intense discussions on the conclusions and recommendations under each agenda item, especially the technical papers. Members would have noted that as chair, I made multiple requests for designation of focal points for circulation of the report. The draft report in English and translations in Chinese, French, and Russian were then circulated after the proceedings on day 1 and day 2, well in advance of the start of the sessions the next day. All those who registered for the drafting committee, regardless of whether they were able to attend the committee meetings for the full duration or not, and the designated country focal points for circulation received the report. Therefore, the text before us reflects the consensus of members. As the meeting progressed, the rapporteur and FAO Secretariat incorporated points from the real-time proceedings into the report, and the drafting committee then ensured that these points were correct and accurately reflected in the proceedings of each day. Please note that the SOM report forms a substantial part of the full conference report that will be adopted by the Honorable Ministers on day 4. Therefore, your consensus on this report, the SOM report, is very important. I therefore propose that the senior officers meeting endorses this report en bloc by acclamation. If there are any editorial changes and language corrections required, those will be made by the Secretariat before this is posted on the website. If there are any comments at this point, the floor is now open. But nonetheless, once again, I would like to emphasize that it is very important for the senior officers meeting to adopt this by consensus, because we are conducting this meeting in exceptional circumstances. If the senior officers meeting is not able to adopt this report, then there's going to be no ministerial conference taking place. So I now open the floor if there are any delegations who would like to speak at this point. I see no hands. Would any member would like to make any intervention at this point of time? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As said right from the beginning of the meeting, this has been built on to consensus, through intensive deliberations, and through the circulation of the reports. So now the senior officers meeting is about to close. Yes, we started, and in a very short period of time. The rapporteur, Ms. Panida, has done a very good job of summarizing the report. I see no hands, I see no objections. Therefore, the senior officers meeting is now about to close. Therefore, I now request Mr. Jong Jin Kim, the Assistant Director General and FAO Regional Representative, to give his concluding remarks.
Thank you, Excellency, the Chairperson. I would like to first thank you for eminently able chairmanship, managing the senior officers meeting in effective and efficient way to bring very important results for the region. We have had 2 full days of very useful discussions and presentations on highly important and relevant topics to the region, including the impact of the COVID-19 on food and agriculture, resilience of small-scale fisheries, water scarcity, sustainable and resilient food systems, priorities for FAO activities in the region, the decentralized office network, and among others, those important topics has been intensively discussed. The dialogue has been very interactive, substantive, and enriching. And we have now an adopted report. I would like to thank all the members for your very thoughtful interventions and valuable recommendations, which will guide us for the development and implementation of work in this critical period of 2020 and 2021. Some of the members are starting the day at very early hours in Rome, and some other members in the Pacific attended the meeting until late evening. I highly appreciate your forbearance on inconvenience of time in this first ever virtual regional conference. I would also like to thank the technical team in Thimphu from the Royal Government of Bhutan, who have been working closely with the chairperson to keep us all on track. Also thanks to FAO Secretariat team here in Bangkok, including presenters and the FAO colleagues who have been helping from Rome, particularly the interpreters and the colleagues who have been webcasting this proceeding live. This has been an extraordinary session, and the FAO's first regional conference held entirely in virtual mode. Your interventions and the record of the senior officers meeting will greatly inform the proceedings and the report for the ministerial session of the regional conference that will commence very soon. Again, thank you very much to all the participants. Thank you. Over to you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Thank you very much. And also let me again reemphasize and thank all the delegations for the consensus that you have given on the report, which has been adopted en bloc. I would like to thank the reporter, members, and the adopting committee, and the distinguished delegates for your excellent collaboration. We are now coming to the end of the senior officers meeting, and it is my pleasure to take the floor now. And with your permission, I will now make some closing remarks before concluding the senior officers meeting. It has been an honor for me to hold the chair and to the Royal Government of Bhutan to host this meeting. In the 2 days, we have deliberated on several critical areas in agricultural development and heard the great impact of the current COVID-19 pandemic on the agricultural, trade, economic, and natural resources management sectors. There were 4 technical papers, each with a web annex on the effect of the pandemic. There was also discussion on FAO's multi-year program of work for 2020-23. We have also had the opportunity to discuss important concerns of this large and varied region under the agenda item 24. Ms. Yao, FAO Regional Program Leader for Asia and the Pacific, introduced a paper on results and priorities for FAO activities in the region. In this regard, we noted the implementation of the enhanced 4 regional initiatives that would be underpinned by 14 programmatic areas of focus for the current biennium. This improved approach will enable measurable results and impacts in the region in a multidisciplinary and holistic manner, and in support of the SDGs. Ms. Yao's introduction also presented the process that the organization is undertaking to develop this new strategic framework. The new framework will guide FAO's technical support in promoting efficient and effective achievements of results in the field. The process for the development of the new strategic framework will be participatory and transparent. Concerning the decentralized offices network, I would like to thank the regional office for a very informative presentation on how the organization is changing to ensure that it continues to provide relevant and meaningful support to the members. To do this, the meeting takes note of the proposed principal actions as follows. Efforts to further strengthen the policy, technical to respond to the 2030 agenda, as well as new development, including COVID-19. Further engagement and collaboration through the UN Development System reposition and continued review of the operational capacities of the decentralized offices to respond to the needs and priorities of the member countries. All these papers are of immense interest to FAO member countries in the region in the context of the challenges facing the food and agriculture sector in the region and the enhanced role of the regional conference in its governance. I firmly believe that the suggestions received in the senior officers meeting, along with those to be received in the ministerial session, will provide valuable inputs for shaping the organization's program of work and budget for the next biennium. On the debates following the presentation, we noted that we are now faced with the challenge of how to eradicate hunger in the context of declining and deteriorating land and water resources, the adverse impact of climate change, and the increasing occurrence of natural disasters and zoonosis. Sustainable agriculture and rural development are certainly key to addressing these issues. Innovations and creative partnerships may be a large part of the way forward. I'm greatly impressed by the richness of comments and suggestions provided from the floor. The deliberations showed that there was great understanding and a strong belief among countries that many win-win situations would arise in collective action, especially through regional cooperation and networking, resource mobilization and capacity building in addressing the poverty and hunger issues in the framework of sustainable development goals. The spirit of cooperation so characteristic of this forum has prevailed. We were able to come up, in my opinion, with a report of findings and recommendations that is insightful and far-reaching. For this, I must thank the distinguished delegates. Your wisdom, flexibility, and perseverance made my responsibilities as chairperson much lighter and my tasks much easier. In short, I thoroughly enjoyed my role as chairperson and take great pride in the senior officers' report that we have turned out. In this regard, credit must go to the drafting committee and the rapporteur, Ms. Vanida. I appreciate the good participation, consensus, and efficient drafting of the report. The rapporteur and drafting committee worked hard and resourcefully to craft this excellent report. Allow me also to thank the Secretariat led by the FAO Assistant Director General and the Deputy Regional Representative, Mr. Jong Jin Kim. Your competence and efficiency in organizing this meeting was outstanding. Your expertise in preparing the agenda papers and presenting them clearly truly reflects the FAO's position as a knowledge organization in food and agriculture. I can say on behalf of the Royal Government of Bhutan that this has been a valuable experience and we look forward to continued association and work with FAO. Furthermore, I would like to express my gratitude to the heads of delegations of all the regional members in attendance and for the assistance of the Vice Chair, the Honorable Vice Secretary of the Philippines in conducting the proceedings. I sincerely thank the many people behind the scenes in the APRC National Task Force in Bhutan for their tireless work of preparation for this meeting. It is because they spent long hours organizing the conference that it ran as smoothly as it did. So thank you to all my colleagues. I thank the interpreters for their tireless and excellent interpretation that has been fundamental to the successful communications of this conference. I wish you a productive and fruitful ministerial segment of the regional conference. The senior officers meeting of the 35th session of the FAO Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific is now closed. Thank you. I now hand over the floor to the Conference Secretary, David. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forests of Bhutan and Chairman, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. The ministerial segment of the regional conference will convene at this same Zoom link immediately at about 11:30 a.m. Bangkok time, which is about 35 minutes from now. The inaugural ceremony will start promptly at 11:30 Bangkok time. Please be in attendance by 11:25 at the absolute latest. And if you're already on the meeting, just keep this link open. The host government at the inaugural ceremony, the host government, the Royal Government of Bhutan, will organize a 30-minute ceremony following their customs for the success of the conference with distinguished and honorable dignitaries from the Royal Government of Bhutan and the FAO Director General, Chu Dongyu. His Excellency, Dr. Tandi Georgi, Honorable Foreign Minister, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Royal Government of Bhutan, will deliver a statement on behalf of the Prime Minister, His Excellency, the Honorable Dr. Lotai Shering. If you have any questions, the members of the Secretariat organizing this conference will be happy to assist. Please contact us by email at aprc35@fao.org, and we will reply to you as soon as possible. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each of you for your attendance and your participation in the senior officers meeting of the regional conference, and we all look forward to the inaugural ceremony shortly. Thank you and goodbye for 30 minutes. Excellencies, Director General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Daw, and I am the Conference Secretary for the 35th session of the Asia Pacific Regional Conference. Thank you very much for joining this meeting. Before we get to the inaugural ceremony that we're all looking forward to, let me just give some quick guidance about Zoom etiquette to ensure the meeting runs smoothly. So for optimal sound quality, both for speaking and listening, please wear a plugged-in headset. Don't use the built-in speaker on your computer unless absolutely necessary. When you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. Interventions during all sessions, except for agenda item 11, will be on a first-come, first-served basis. To request to make an intervention, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. And the Zoom software will indicate to the Secretariat the order in which hands were raised. Please note that on your own computer, you'll be shown at the top of the list of participants. However, it is important to note this does not mean you were the first one to raise your hand. Furthermore, some delegations may raise their hand using software other than Zoom and convey that to the Secretariat. So based on all of this information, the chair will determine the order of speaking. That's true for all items except for agenda item 11, which will be in alphabetical order. When you are speaking, please remove your mask. If you wish to clap to express appreciation of someone's remarks, please use the clapping hand icon in the reactions area on the toolbar. In order to see the speaker more clearly, please remember to select speaker view instead of gallery view in the upper right corner of the Zoom screen. The chat function has been disabled for sending messages, except from the Conference Secretariat, for security reasons. We have simultaneous translation available in Chinese, French, and Russian, which is accessible in the interpretation button in the toolbar. If you step away from the meeting for any reason, please stay connected to this Zoom link so that we don't have to readmit you through the waiting room. If you have any questions or problems or technical issues, please send an email to aprc35@fao.org, and we will try to help as soon as we can. Finally, the order of the day and the information for the APRC and other information for the APRC are at the APRC website. Thank you very much for your attention. We will now start the inaugural ceremony from the host of the 35th session, the Royal Government of Bhutan. Thank you again and welcome to the regional conference.
Kuzu Zambola, Tari Shazom di, Chige, Geji Shazom Jibiole, Nalamai Lerim di, Inkena, Piniginawachi Shuila. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency Dr. Tandi Doji, Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Royal Government of Bhutan, distinguished delegates, honorable guests, media representatives, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizers, I, as the MC for this morning, like to extend my warm welcome to all the distinguished delegates to this inaugural session of the 35th Asia and the Pacific Regional Conference Food and Agriculture Organization. It is my pleasure to inform that the conference is a collaborative effort between the FAO and the Royal Government of Bhutan. And we have about 46 member nations, along with private sectors and civil society organizations, joined virtually to discuss on the way forward amid the onset of COVID-19 pandemic and its impact to agriculture and food system in Asia and Pacific. In light of today's significant inaugural session, the ceremony that we will that protect our nation so that they will bring success to the event and allow us to achieve the intended outcome of the event. Therefore, the heartfelt offering would be made to gratify our deities and protectors so that the vision and objectives of this 35th APRC is blessed and achieved. Thank you. Now we will start with the marching ceremony.
Tam chege madare tam chege wachuke kuro tam chege tso de so sangye tam chege ko so tu ni so me ba ishige mo ta chege che tse pele lama tamba mali shele ba me ba namge shendo benza amrenda boza ka
এখানে ছিল যে ক্যান্ডিজে
Mahakala Chatunge Gabo Nejoge Dala Desunge Memba Tula Kanda Kikurage Summa Chembo Charo Meche Kura Kadeda Jeba Lasoba Tamba Jejo Mali Shileba Meba Namge Shendo Benza Amrenda Muza Kai Icho Dinera Neva Laso Nama Sidege Toari Jokine Namba Shidibi Simche Tam Jige Shendo Benza Amrenda Munza Kai
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to introduce our keynote speaker. As the Minister for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Royal Government of Bhutan, His Excellency has worked extensively in various other health activities, both within and outside Bhutan. His Excellency has an MBA from the Faculty of Business and Law, Canberra University, and a Master's in International Public Health degree from the School of Public Health, Sydney, Australia. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Thandi Doji, Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Royal Government of Bhutan, for his keynote address on behalf of the Prime Minister of Bhutan. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chairperson, Ministers from the Asia-Pacific region, Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, distinguished delegates, Kusuzambo, and a very good morning. At the outset, I would like to convey the warmest greetings from His Majesty, the King of Bhutan. The Honorable Prime Minister of Bhutan was looking forward to gracing the opening ceremony of the 35th APRC. However, due to the evolving situation of the pandemic in Bhutan, he is unable to be here with us and has asked me to convey his apologies. Therefore, I have the privilege of reading out the address on behalf of the Honorable Prime Minister of Bhutan. Excellencies, I'm honored to be part of the inaugural ceremony of the 35th APRC, and it is my great privilege and honor to extend a warm welcome to all the distinguished participants. This year, 2020, is an unprecedented year of the novel coronavirus and the pandemic that continues to test our collective endeavor. Given the current environment, it appears that the virus is here to stay with us, and the only way to overcome it is to learn to live with it. I understand that this is the first time that the FAO Asia-Pacific Regional Conference is being held virtually, which is our way of learning to accommodate with the virus. Excellencies, it was in 2018 that Bhutan volunteered to host the 35th FAO Asia-Pacific Regional Conference. This is a big occasion for us, given that it is the first time that Bhutan is hosting the FAO Regional Conference and was an opportunity for us to welcome representatives from the Asia-Pacific region to our beautiful country. However, given the current global environment, the event had to be postponed by 6 months and is being held virtually. Although delayed, I'm happy that our countries, in consultation with the FAO and in keeping safety at the forefront, has decided to hold the event virtually, which in itself also reflects our common endeavor for progress towards achieving our common goals. Being an integral part of the FAO governing body structure, the FAO Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific is very important for the countries of our region. The outcome of our deliberations during the regional conference will feed directly into the FAO conference and the FAO Council, and in turn contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm delighted to see the list of distinguished speakers and participants from several countries around the world. I'm informed by the organizing team that we have with us today a large pool of experts, approximately about 490 participants from 46 countries, including Bhutan. It is essential to bring together experts in the field of food and agriculture so that we can understand and realize together the potential to reduce the global problems of hunger, poverty, malnutrition, stunting, etc. I'm very confident that this august body will achieve its objectives of the conference. Recognizing the importance of achieving food security through sustainable agricultural practice, the Royal Government of Bhutan has undertaken numerous efforts towards realizing the vision of a sustainable natural resource and a self-reliant food system for inclusive socioeconomic well-being of all Bhutanese. The Royal Government stands committed to revamping our agriculture systems for the achievement of the SDGs. Enhancing agriculture productivity through our 12th five-year water flagship program is one of such priority. Excellencies, despite all the achievement and progress, the Asia-Pacific region continues to record high levels of poverty and hunger. I would like to urge and stress on the importance of addressing the challenges and opportunities and to define regional priorities and cooperation necessary to achieving the 2030 agenda. in particular to end hunger and malnutrition, alleviating poverty, and ensuring our food systems are sustainable, resilient, and inclusive. Agriculture can be one of the solutions in addressing many of the problems faced by the world today, such as income disparity, unemployment, hunger, malnutrition, poverty, climate crisis, stunting, etc. We need to further advance our agriculture production system by coming together with better ideas and skills and with effective collaborations that will have a positive national, regional, and global impact. In terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, we need to understand the evolving negative impacts caused by the spread of the novel coronavirus on our societies, particularly among those who are most vulnerable. We need to recognize that the food and agriculture sector, including fisheries, forestry, crops, and livestock, and the families that rely on them for their livelihoods, have been badly affected by the spread of the pandemic and the serious illness that SARS-CoV-2 can cause. In response, the FAO, national governments, regional bodies, civil society organizations, and the private sector must work in partnership. In Bhutan, the importance and significance of agriculture and livestock sector for food security and during times of global pandemics such as COVID-19 has been adequately recognized, and we are working towards further improvement in the agriculture productivity. Excellencies, the outcome of the deliberations you will be having here today and tomorrow will have a great impact on how we move forward together in this region to overcome not just COVID-19, but to better improve our food systems for the benefit of all. Before I conclude, let me acknowledge FAO's 75 years of sharing its expertise with countries, both big and small, and I'm convinced that its present key initiatives, such as the Hand-in-Hand initiative and the digital agriculture, will be of great benefit to the countries in the Asia-Pacific region. I wish to express our gratitude to FAO for all its support provided to Bhutan and for giving us the opportunity to host the 35th APRC. I hope that not too in the distant future, we will be able to host the APRC in Bhutan and physically welcome all of you to Bhutan. I wish you all very fruitful deliberations and to the 35th APRC every success. Please stay safe. Thank you and Tashidile.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your presence here today, despite your very busy schedule, signifies the importance accorded to this Asia and the Pacific Regional Conference by the Royal Government of Bhutan. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the inaugural ceremony of the 35th APRC. Once again, on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forest, Royal Government of Bhutan, I would like to express our gratitude to Your Excellency for your gracious presence today. We would also like to thank all our distinguished guests for being part of this session. Now, before I hand over the floor to David, may I request all our guests to kindly join us for a refreshment outside, and for the conference delegates, we will resume after 5 minutes. Thank you and Tashidile. Over to you, David.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the FAO Secretariat, I would like to thank the Royal Government of Bhutan for a most enlightening and inspiring speech, as well as a beautiful ceremony. We would now like, before starting the first part of the ministerial meeting in about 15 minutes, we would like to show a video about the UN Decade of Family Farming. So I hope you enjoy that now, and when that is concluded, I will come back and we will turn it over to the chairperson from Fiji. So I hope you enjoy the video.
Today, world food security and environmental sustainability are at risk due to new threats and crisis. The stability and future of the food systems worldwide depend on the family farmers that every day provide about 80% of the food that feeds our planet. The United Nations Decade of Family Farming offers a framework for countries to promote policies and investments to put family farming at the center of rural transformations towards sustainable food systems. The region holds around 60% of the world's population and is home to the majority of family farmers, including small-scale farmers, fishers, and livestock producers. Family farmers ensure food security and nutrition in the region, maintain natural resources, and contribute to the wealth of rural communities. They are major investors in the agricultural sector and contribute significantly to the growth of the rural economies. They are custodians of biodiversity for food and agriculture, linking identity and social values and local knowledge with innovations. Family farmers are also the engine of the economic, environmental, social and cultural sustainability of agriculture in the Asia and Pacific region, but they often suffer from food insecurity and malnutrition due to their vulnerability to shocks and crises, as well as to unequal access resources and development opportunities. Many small-scale farmers, fishers, Indigenous peoples and pastoralists are displaced due to the lack of legal recognition of their customary tenure rights. Rural women have limited access to productive resources, with reduced capacity to generate marketable surpluses, and receive reduced wage income from their work on the farm. Up to 85% of the work is performed by women, but they generate barely 20% of the family income. These unfair conditions and the lack of services in rural areas cause the migration of young farmers and men, threatening the generational renewal of farms and villages. To revert these trends, an in-depth process of change is required, improving policies and investments to exploit the full potential of family farming in different countries of the AP region.
The UN Decade of Family Farming offers a framework to inspire new policies, services, and investment. This will help the advice in family farming as a way to ensure food security and sustainable food systems, building on national efforts as well as the resilience and the capacities of family farmers themselves. The Decade Global Action Plan provides guidance to unleash the potential of family farmers. The Asia-Pacific region is at the forefront of this effort. National plans have already been approved or are being developed in several countries. Other countries are starting the process. In addition to the commitment of the government, and we have to acknowledge the paramount contributions that the farmers' organizations are making to the decade, and their role in the response to the pandemic, safeguarding their members and delivering alternative services.
Our food system is basically broken, and that's why we need to fix it. So we are to build back better. We think that the food systems that we have right now should be sustainable, just, resilient, and inclusive. So what do we mean by this? So because farmers produce food and the farmers need their natural resources like land, water, forest, and seeds. So these resources must be accessible. They must have access and control over these resources. Also, to be resilient, we need to promote agroecological, climate resilient technologies and innovations. Also, we need to increase the market power of the farmers by having stronger governance in the value chains. And lastly, because we know that women farmers and the youth are marginalized and the youth are not attracted to farming, so we need to empower our women members and our youth members so that they can have greater access, increased access, equal rights to all opportunities. Actually, when COVID came, there was a greater, again, a realization from all sectors of society that we need healthy and nutritious food. Family farmers can produce this food and can bring this food to the market. So for UNDFF, our call is for governments and for development partners to make policies and implement programs that will recognize and that will promote the role of family farmers.
Agria is an inclusive for-purpose agro-social enterprise in the Philippines that aims to eradicate poverty in the farming and fishing communities in the country. So far for the last 6 years, it's been in the core of our work that the farmers are the change makers in the formula of solving the problems in food systems. And focusing on family farming is actually one of our major goals to work with. So far, we have 4 major areas that we're working with family farms. One is focusing on the women and the farms, because we believe that the more we empower the mothers, the women in the farming community, it's an investment to the entire family, because they're the ones budgeting for their home and cooking nutritious food for their children. Second one, we have a farm school. So far, more than 50% of our farm school are women, and most of them, they own family farms that would have an hectareage from 1 to 2 hectares, smallholder farming. And we've been working with them in diversifying their sources of income, from coconut to turmeric and ginger to poultry and now livestock inclusion, so that they have different sources of income. And the most magnificent so far that we're doing right now is the Move Food Initiative during this pandemic. We've been working with almost 16,000 farmers, and most of these farmers are smallholder farmers, meaning they are family farms. And we also have an Agria Rescue Kitchen that also give justice to save the food waste in the food supply chain.
The government of the Philippines undertook important concrete actions promoting family farming. We are likewise empowering farmers' cooperatives and associations and young agripreneurs by providing much-needed financial support. We are engaging state universities and colleges, government agencies, and business development services to mentor the beneficiaries of programs such as the Capital Access for Young Agripreneurs, KAYA, and Agri-Negosyo Program, ANYO. The country has recently legislated the Sagip-Saka Act that establishes the Farmers and Fisherfolk Enterprise Development Program. Prior to this, as recognition of the significant contributions of family farmers in achieving economic and sustainable development, the Philippines established the Magna Carta of Small Farmers. Lastly, to address the vulnerabilities of our current food systems due to COVID-19 pandemic, the Philippine Department of Agriculture has crafted a new food security framework translated into the Plant program to help the agri and fishery sector to survive, reboot, and grow. Maraming salamat po.
The action plan has been implemented since the beginning of this year. This program aims to increase food availability, accessibility, and utilization, as well as to improve family farmer income. The target of this program are to reduce the food vulnerability as reflected in the Food Security and Vulnerability Atlas from 18% in 2018 to 10% in 2024, and also to reduce the poverty rate from 9.8% to 6.5% in 2024. The action plan was developed as the result from the dynamic dialogue between the government, researchers, and NGO for various stakeholders to formulate the program in line with strengthening the role of family farming. It's more important during the COVID-19 pandemic, in which this program is not only to provide healthy local food, reduce food expenditure, and increase household income, but also could create job opportunity for the family.
1/3 of the population in Nepal are engaged in agriculture, and among them, most of the population, most of the farmers, they are the small scale and medium scale farmers. Thus, our all agricultural program focus is towards the upliftment of this small and medium scale family farming. So we have launched several awareness programs, several campaigns to raise the issues of this family farming and the technologies, the awareness campaigns and other activities to uplift the farmers, to raise their issues at national level. This national plan, we are mainly focusing towards the commercialization, small scale commercialization of our indigenous commodities, our fruits, our vegetables, and also small scale poultry and other commodities. And we are more focused towards the youths. Our main focus is to raise the awareness, to flow the information, to give them the access to finance, access to market, access to premium price, and also to make them agri-business persons, agri-entrepreneurs. The livelihood and economic status of the farmers will be enhanced, and they will gain the sustainable income for their livelihood, and as a whole, the nation will be enriched with their economic upliftment. We are working together with national level and international level organizations in this issue of family farming to promote and to enhance these issues at the subnational level and for the benefit of farmers, small scale farmers. Most important thing is to make our agriculture sustainable and to make our farmers sustainable and resilient. In this regard, the COVID-19, the message is very clear that we have to focus on sustainable agriculture, and family farming is more sustainable in this regard.
Many tend to forget how fundamentally important family farming is for our food system. Indeed, if we want to achieve a global food system that produces enough nutritious food at affordable prices within planetary boundaries, there is no way we can do that without supporting and underpinning family farming. Unfortunately, our global food system is in a crisis. 690 million people don't get enough food every day. 2 billion people don't get enough nutritious food. And on top of that comes the climate crisis and now also COVID-19. Family farming is often more sustainable when it comes to, for example, production per unit. It's higher. When it comes to safeguarding biodiversity, it's better. And we will not be able to build back better if we do not put a lot of emphasis on developing family farming. In the Asia-Pacific region, for example, 80% of food production stems from family farms. And we can underpin and support better by partnering with governments to develop national action plans, national policies generally, and investment schemes. And that's what we really encourage all governments to do.
Moving forward, a world free from hunger and inequalities means creating a new normal based on people-centered development, valuing family farmers as agents of change, and ensuring generations renewal and gender equality in the rural areas. The years to come will require new efforts and the commitment of the governments, farmers' organizations, and the international community to push the UNDFF agenda forward in the Asia-Pacific region, delivering policies, services, and investments that will benefit family farmers. Let us put family farming at the center of the national policy and the Asia-Pacific regional agenda. to lead the transformation towards a new and more inclusive normal for this decade and beyond. This is essential to achieve SDG 2 and indeed most of SDGs, and to ensure the better future for the region and the world.
Family farmers are the agents of change for a zero hunger and a sustainable world. By supporting family farming, we ensure our future. Let us join forces and do it.
I hope you've enjoyed the video. That video, along with others, is available on the FAO APRC 35 website in case you would like to see it again or share it with a colleague. Now that you have seen this video, we will change slightly the agenda this afternoon and make the period from 14:30 to 1500 hours Bangkok time a break. At this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Sarah Bose, the Chief Economist for the Ministry of Agriculture of Fiji, who, as representative of the chair of the 34th session of the APRC, will now take the floor to chair the very first part of the meeting. As you know, Fiji still holds the chair as host and chair of the 34th session of the regional conference. Ms. Bose, you have the floor.
Excellencies, Director General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Bulabinaka, welcome to the Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific. Thank you very much for that beautiful ceremony, and to the Royal Government of Bhutan for graciously hosting this meeting. This inaugural ceremony reflects the importance of the serious business we have come together to do, which is to build a world in which no one is left behind. This aim will only be achieved if we continue to work together beyond the few hours of this meeting in harmony and cohesion. Now, without further ado, we turn to the first order of business, which is agenda item 1, the election of the chairperson, vice chairperson, and appointment of the rapporteur. I call for nomination from the floor.
Afghanistan?
Afghanistan, distinguished delegates.
Good morning. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, good morning from Afghanistan, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, the Honorable Ministers and the delegates. On behalf of Government of Afghanistan, we would like to extend our warm gratitude to FAO and the Royal Government of Bhutan for hosting this 35th FAO Regional Conference. Excellency, the delegation of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan is pleased to propose His Excellency Lianpo Yishi Penjor, the Honorable Minister of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forests, the Royal Government of Bhutan, to be the chairperson for the ministerial meeting of the 35th session of the FAO Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you. I call on the delegation of the Republic of Maldives. Distinguished delegates from Maldives, you have the floor.
Excellencies, the delegation of the Republic of Maldives is pleased to second the proposal of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan for His Excellency Lianpo Yeshe Penjo the Honorable Minister of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forests, the Royal Government of Bhutan, to be the chairperson for the ministerial meeting of the 35th session of the FAO Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you. His Excellency, the Honorable Leonpo Yeshe Penjo, Minister of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forests for the Royal Government of Bhutan, has been nominated as chairperson of the conference by the delegation of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan and seconded by the delegation of the Republic of Maldives. Are there any other nominations? If there is no other nominations, I declare His Excellency the Honorable Minister Leonpo Yeshe Penjo anonymously elected. Before handing over the chairmanship of this 35th session of the Regional Conference to the Honorable Minister from Bhutan, I would like to say a few words on behalf of the chair of the 34th Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific that was held in Fiji in 2016. I'm honored and pleased to be with you today through the technology of video conferencing that is able to bridge the gaps created by geography and global pandemic. I would like to pass the sincere congratulations of the government of Fiji to His Excellency Leonpo Yeshe Penjo, Honorable Minister of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forests of the Royal Government of Bhutan in his role as chairperson. I also congratulate and appreciate the Royal Government of Bhutan for hosting this important meeting. I'm sure, Your Honor, you will be successful in steering the current session to a fruitful conclusion. With this, I am pleased to hand over the chairmanship to Your Excellency, Honorable Minister Leonpo Yeshe Penjo. Your Honor, you have the chair and the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ms. Bosley, for chairing the first business of the regional conference and for the kind words of congratulation and support from the government of Fiji to the Royal Government of Bhutan and to me in my role as chair. Thank you, distinguished delegates, for electing me to the chair. I'm honored to accept it on behalf of the Royal Government of Bhutan. Before we consider the substantive issues before us, let me ask your cooperation with a few rules of procedure. When speaking, I ask that you please be as concise and brief as possible, given the dense timetable and the fact that we have many fewer hours in this online conference than in an in-person meeting. As is traditional, the order of speaking will be on a first-come, first-served basis, except during agenda item 11. Prioritization of country and regional needs when it will be by alphabetical order. Should any member wish to make a second intervention within the same session, please note that all first interventions will be made and then requests for second interventions will be handed in the usual manner by the order of requests. I understand some member countries have submitted statements by pre-recorded video. Please stand by during your country's statement so that in the unforeseen eventuality of a technical difficulty, that a delegate will be on hand to actually read the statement alive. With these few rules, we should be able to run the meeting efficiently and smoothly. Thank you for your cooperation. As you know, we meet biannually to exchange views, reinforce links and forge collection action in pursuit of sustainable agriculture, rural development, and food security. This year, in the context of COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is more important than ever. This meeting is an opportunity to make collective recommendations for action that will make a positive impact. I would like to bring your attention to the event on FAO's new hand-in-hand initiative later today. This initiative makes FAO's data management and analytics available to all for integrated policy, partnerships, finance, and investment. It is a country-owned and country-led initiative harnessing the power of agriculture and rural transformation to lift populations out of poverty and hunger. Hand in hand is the way forward in this complicated and complex time. That event will be followed by a video on the UN Decade of Family Farming called Family Farmers, the Future of Asia, which is of special relevance in our region as the majority of our agriculturists are family members. All in all, this promises to be substantive, exciting, and useful meeting. I look forward to your contributions to the deliberations and thank you once again for giving the chair to my country. Now, we turn to our next item of business is the election of vice chairperson. The virtual modality of this conference makes it necessary to depart from the tradition and president of the regional conference by which all heads of delegations of the ministerial rank are elected as vice chairpersons. Instead, the meeting would like to welcome nominations for elected vice chair. In the event that the chair is temporarily unable to conduct the meeting, the vice chair would do so until the chair is able to resume his duties. Thank you, distinguished delegates. I now ask for nominations from the floor for the vice chair. I see the flag of the people of Republic of Bangladesh. So I call on the delegation of the people of People's Republic of Bangladesh to take the floor. You have the floor, sir. The distinguished delegate from Bangladesh, you have the floor, sir.
Distinguished Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, excellencies, the delegation of the People's Republic of Bangladesh is pleased to propose Dr. William D. Dar, Secretary of the Department of Agriculture of the Philippines, to be the Vice Chairman for the ministerial meeting of the 35th session of the FAO Regional Conference for Asia and Pacific. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, giving me the opportunity to propose the Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Bangladesh. Now I see the flag of the Republic of Korea. I call on the delegation of the Republic of Korea to have the floor. You have the floor, sir.
Excellency, the delegation of the Republic of Korea is pleased to second the proposal of the People's Republic of Bangladesh for Dr. William D. Dar, Secretary of the Department of Agriculture of the Philippines, to be the Vice Chairperson for the ministerial meeting of the 35th APRC. Thank you.
Thank you, Korea. Thank you for seconding the proposal made by Bangladesh. Dr. William D. Dar, Secretary of the Department of Agriculture of the Philippines, has been nominated to be Vice Chairperson by the delegation of the People's Republic of Bangladesh and seconded by the delegation of the Republic of Korea. Are there any other nominations? I see no nominations. Therefore, I declare Dr. William Dar, Secretary of the Department of Agriculture of the Philippines, is the elected Vice Chair. Thank you, honorable delegates. We will now move to the election of the rapporteur. I would like to request nominations from the floor for the appointment of the rapporteur. I see the flag of the Laos People's Democratic Republic. I call on the delegation of the Laos People's Democratic Republic. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Excellency, the delegate of the Lao PDR is pleased to propose Ms. Vanida Kunipet, Director of the Bureau of the Foreign Agriculture Affairs from the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperative of the Delegation of Thailand, to be the rapporteur for the ministerial meeting of the 35 session of the FAO Regional Conference for Asia.
Now I see the flag of the independent state of Papua New Guinea. Distinguished delegate from the Papua New Guinea, you have the floor, sir.
Excellency, the delegation of independent state of Papua New Guinea is pleased to second the proposal of the Lao People's Democratic Republic, Ms. Vanita Kunipet, Director of Bureau of Foreign Agriculture Affairs from the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives of the Delegation of Thailand, to be the rapporteur for the ministerial meeting of the 35th session of the FAO Regional Conference for the Asian Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you, independent state of Papua New Guinea. Thank you for your seconding the proposal for the rapporteur. Ms. Vanita Kunipet, Director of Bureau of Foreign Agriculture Affairs from the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives, Thailand, has been nominated by the delegation of the Lao PDR and seconded by the delegation of the independent state of Papua New Guinea. Are there any other nominations? I see no flags. If there are no other nominations, I declare Kun Vanida unanimously elected to the position of the rapporteur of this 35th APRC. Excellencies, distinguished head of delegations. Now, as the chair of the 35th session of the FAO Asia Pacific Region Conference, I would like to make my opening remarks. Please bear with me for a few minutes. Excellencies, distinguished head of delegations from the FAO member countries of the Asia and Pacific region. Your Excellency, Dr. Chu Dongju, Director General of FAO. Ladies and gentlemen, with my heartfelt greetings, Kuzu Zambola. At the outset, I would like to thank you all on behalf of the Royal Government of Bhutan and on my own behalf for having confidence in me and electing me to the chairmanship of the 35th session of the FAO Asia Pacific Regional Conference. It is indeed a great pleasure and an opportunity for me to work with you and serve the region with my utmost sincerity and dedication. With this, may I also take the opportunity to congratulate His Excellency Dr. William D. Dar from Philippines for his election as the Vice Chair, and Kun Vanida from Thailand for her election as the rapporteur of this conference. I look forward to working very closely with the two distinguished colleagues in making this conference a success and fruitful event. On behalf of the host government, Bhutan, it is also my honor and privilege to welcome you all to the 35th session of the APRC. It actually is a pity that we are not able to welcome you in person to this small but beautiful Himalayan kingdom. Your visit in person would have opportune you all to discover unique landscape, culture, and food. Equally, I would have been it would have the royal government of Bhutan to showcase some special features of the country to stamp in your memory when you travel back to your family and country. Nevertheless, this is not the last chance. We can avail an opportunity at a better time. It is also in my pleasure to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency Dr. Tandi Doji, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Royal Government of Bhutan, for gracing the opening ceremony of the important conference this morning. With great pleasure, on behalf of the FAO Asia Pacific countries, and on my own behalf, I also thank the government of Fiji for successfully convening the 34th Regional Conference and holding the chairpersonship until today. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, 35th session of the APRC was originally scheduled for mid-February 2020. Unfortunately, the pandemic COVID-19 outbreak compelled us to postpone the conference. International travel restrictions would have affected the conference attendance and hampered important decisions to be taken in the conference. Technology is on our side, and I am happy that Bhutan could host the first ever conference of its kind for the 35th APRC. Thanks goes to all the member countries for your support and acceptance to this virtual meeting, and to our technical experts in successfully setting the facilities as required. It indicates high importance and special attention accorded by our member countries to this conference. Special thanks to FAO headquarters in Rome and regional office in Bangkok for all the technical and resources support as demanded by the needs of the preparation modality. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on the intellectual and science support, I recognize that we have a huge pool of experts, almost 500 registered for the event. Asia Pacific member countries are indeed fortunate to be guided by the knowledge and experience of this pool of experts. Experts support us in framing and developing various strategies, plans, and programs for a successful implementation of activities in the region. Bhutan, for a small landlocked and mountainous terrain country, securing food resources through local production is challenging. We are highly import dependent. Technology advancement in food production, post-harvest management, and marketing is inevitable to progress and sustain our food security. I have full confidence in our experts that their knowledge and expertise will lead us all the member countries in the region to newer heights in food security. As such, this conference is perceived to provide us a timely opportunity to identify our challenges, take note of better alternatives, and jointly agree to doable solutions, a solution that is suitable to our region. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, novel coronavirus is unpredictable, highly infectious, and it is going to stay for a longer duration than expected. Food security preparedness is inevitable, more challenging and expensive under such pandemic domain. Unity of people and governments in the region to tackle the challenges posed by the pandemic is felt more crucial and urgent. All member countries of the Asia Pacific are one way or the other agriculture-based economy. Agriculture, livestock, forestry, and fishery farming is inevitable in our region. Limiting agriculture activities, business, and mobility will undoubtedly impact our economy and livelihood. COVID-19 continues to confront the efforts of governments and public health authorities in the region. serious impact on economy of every member country is visible. It is almost obvious to risk social distortion soon. While great strides had been made to reduce poverty and hunger by so many countries, COVID-19 has upended the momentum. Food supply systems in the region have continued to function, but very importantly, we must prepare for higher risks ahead of us and make sure that there is sustainability in the food supply chain. Distinguished senior officials of the FAO member countries conducted successfully their technical sessions and forwarded to us concrete agreements, decisions, and proposals. Hard work of the technical group meeting has enabled the ministerial meeting to go more focused and condensed. Decisions taken in this ministerial meeting will go a long way for the member countries in tackling the food security challenges during the COVID-19 era and beyond for sustainable development. In this light, I would like to urge all the honorable ministers, head of delegations, and participants to give special attention and focus sharing your innovative ideas, technological advancements, and research findings to benefit your neighboring country and all the member countries in the region. Sharing is loving. Do not confine your knowledge and experiences to yourself. Wider benefits of your knowledge and experiences will merit you in this life and beyond. This is a strong belief in the Bhutanese culture and the Buddhism faith. Let us all recognize and appreciate FAO's numerous years commitment to global food security and sustainable development. Through interdisciplinary and integrated approaches, FAO has concentrated to acquire highest technological, scientific, and financial resources from the global community. May I urge all the member countries in the region to support FAO's energy and avail their technical expertise and resources to elevate your national food security aspirations. For the success of this conference, I'm very happy to put on record that the technical team from FAO and Bhutan worked tirelessly over the past few months. Their hard work is putting into a successful 4 days FAO APRC. I would like to commend and thank the team for making this conference successful. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I, on behalf of the host government and on my own behalf, welcome you all to this highly important conference and wish you all a very successful conference. Thank you and Tashdele. I would like to make few remarks on the process of finalizing the conference report. As you are aware, this is the first ever virtual regional conference for FAO. The modality has made it simpler for delegates to attend the meeting from the comfort of your own countries. At the same time, extensive direct consultations like during a physical meeting is difficult. Moreover, our members are spread over multiple time zones. The drafting committee has to work and deliver under these challenges. As you are aware, the FAO Secretariat circulated a near complete draft conference report and obtained your comments a week ago. We now have a draft conference report and adopted SOM report that incorporates all your valuable comments. This text reflects your common consensus and should preferably not be opened up for further discussions. The rapporteur and the FAO Secretariat will incorporate points from the real-time proceedings of day 1 and day 2 into the draft report. The drafting committee should ensure that these are reflected accurately. There will be no drafting committee meeting tomorrow in the day 4. And therefore, today's version will be almost final one and included paragraphs on day 4 proceedings. Please note that due to the time difference with Rome, The drafting committee has only an hour to complete this work so that the Secretariat can send the draft report to Rome for translation. The translated reports will be received during the night and then circulated early tomorrow morning for members to read. As I said before, preparation of the report has been thorough and interactive process. I expect that the complete report this evening has your full consensus and can be adopted by acclamation tomorrow morning. Thank you. If you would like to participate in the drafting committee and do not have the Zoom link, please contact the APRC Secretariat by email at aprc35@fao.org, and you will receive the link very soon. Finally, the drafting committee will convene today at 18:30 hours by separate Zoom link. The drafting committee is open to all member countries. If you would like to join and have not yet received the Zoom link, please send an email to aprc35@fao.org. Thank you. So before proceeding to the substantive deliberations of this conference, I would like to seek your formal agreement to hold the conference virtually. As you are aware, consultations have been held by and on behalf of the Director General with the Royal Government of Bhutan, me as chairperson, and the members of the members of this regional conference. In these consultations, the members indicated their consent to convene the conference by virtual means in light of the exceptional prevailing circumstances caused by COVID-19 pandemic and the important work of the organization that must be advanced through our deliberations. As you are aware, the general rules of the organization and the rules of procedure of the regional conference for Asia and the Pacific presuppose that sessions be convened in person. For the purposes of our session, I now formally ask for the conference approval to exceptionally waive any rules of procedure that are incompatible with the convening of a virtual session in accordance with Rule 35, para 5 of the general rules of the organization. This decision would be taken on an exceptional basis for the purpose of this session only. If you have any objection to proceeding in this way, please virtually raise your hand. Conference will now take up agenda item 2, adoption of agenda and timetable for the plenary session, which are laid out in the relevant sections of document APRC/20/1 Rep 2, provisional annotated agenda, and APRC/20/INF/1 Rep 2, which is the provisional timetable. We have the documents before us. I ask that these documents are agreeable. Are there any comments from the floor? I see no flags coming up. If there are no further comments, I declare that the agenda and provisional timetable are adopted by the regional conference. Thank you for your cooperation. We now come to an important part of the program. We are now taking up agenda item number 3, the statement by the FAO Director General. Your Excellency, Dr. Chiu Dongju, Director General. Sir, you have the floor to deliver your statement.
Dastile, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Depends on the time zone. Here is good morning, early morning in Rome, good afternoon in Bhutan and Bangkok, and far east Pacific Island should be good evening. But in Rome, they always say good afternoon or good morning because even the afternoon, they say good morning. So I say good morning to all of you, Zastile. Your Excellencies, Yashir Panjur, Minister for Agriculture and Forestry, Honorable Ministers, Mr. Independent Chairperson of FAO Council, distinguished delegates, representatives from civil society and the private sector, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by applauding the Royal Government of Bhutan for their flexibility shown in cooperation with the FAO Secretary to convene this first virtual regional conference in FAO history aimed on ongoing global pandemic. And on behalf of FAO and all the participants in this regional conference, I extend my profound gratitude to the Royal Government of Bhutan and the people of Bhutan to host this conference. It's not so easy. It's a little bit challenge, but since you are located in the highest place in the world, Himalaya Mountain, so you can look over the global, you can look over the earth from the skies. Yeah, a lot of people, they look at Bhutan and the Himalaya mountain countries like Nepal, and also it's a highest place. So you are more closer to the sky. You are more closer to the heaven. That's something special. So you can look afar. Yeah. My thought and solidarity are with all the victims and the heroes fighting the COVID-19 pandemic in the region. And I would like to pay tribute to the national authorities of all our members who are hosting FAO office across the region and who help us keep our employees safe in these difficult times. It is an honor and a pleasure for me to be with you for this 35th session of FAO Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it has been just slightly more than 1 year ago since I started my mandate as a Director General of FAO United Nations. So this is my first regional conference, and I have been looking forward to it very much. In fact, one of my early priority as a Director General was to transform the regional conference from purely formal stand-alone event into something more dynamic, continuous, and seamless. The regional conference are an integrated, essential part of the FAO governance. It is my vision to ensure that the regional perspective is well heard. That's why yesterday I asked my colleague to get all the voices during past 2 days to be heard from the small island state, landlocked countries, and least developed countries make the headline news today. You can search on the web of the FAO. And that the regional conference enable us to serve your needs more closely and to improve and accelerate our delivery on objectives set up. We want to ensure that the regional conference become a dynamic and efficient platform for policy setting through the open dialogue and active exchange of good practice among the participating countries. We can better support the policymakers across the region in facing common challenges, and also the lesson learnings, experience sharing. Most importantly, the regional conference needed to be useful for you. And we therefore welcome your advice on how to achieve this, and be it in terms of content or format. Of course, this is your conference, the regional governing body session. And my colleagues and I will, as always, to be listening closely and documenting your guidance to us. In that respect, we are eager to listen to your views on two important policy items. First, your expectation for the UN Food System Summit in 2021, and also the priority you want to see included in the new strategic framework of the organization. This is under preparation, because as you know, by FAO basic text 2021, we will have a ministerial plenary conference supposed to held in headquarters of Rome, Italy. So excellencies, be ready and be prepared yourself to be fully engaged with the new strategic framework for the FAO and for the global agricultural food system. Ladies and gentlemen, the changes introduced to the regional conference are part of the bigger transformative action we undertook that include the structure, programmatic, and operational adjustment. And this adjustment translated my vision of build a dynamic FAO for a better world, and that remains committed to the original aspiration, mandate, and mission. The transformation we have implemented following approval by the FAO Council create an inclusive, agile FAO that serves its members to achieve the four betters: better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and a better life. So now that everybody talk about the build back better, but I already said that the 2019, last spring, I said we need four betters for the better world. This is done by creating a renewed FAO. This is transparent, open, innovative, responsible, and effective. We introduced a more modular and flexible organigram to allow for optimal cross-sectors collaboration. This way, we break down silos, and we are faster in responding to emerging needs and priorities. A co-leadership team consists of 3 deputy director generals, the chief economist, chief scientist, and the director of the cabinet was also established. That's real collective wisdom, collective leadership, and collective service to you, to the farmers, to the world. This co-leadership and the group will support me in all areas of organization's mandate, exemplifying the new collaborative approach of FAO. Among the other numerous adjustment and reforms efforts, I'm pleased to highlight the established a dedicated Office of Small Island Developing State, least development countries, and landlocked developing countries. Office for Innovation, Office for Climate Change, Biodiversity and Environment, as well as the Office of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. That's also overall mandate and task for FAO and for the members, especially for the people, yeah, who is suffering from the food insecurity. This transformation and adjustment are nearly finalized at the headquarters and during past year only, and we are now the speed up implementation during past 2 months after approval by the FAO Council in early July. So it will be soon applied to all other FAO offices across the world. I'm therefore encouraged to see that as a part of this transformation, the regional conference for regional office for Asia Pacific has been proactive in reaching out to you in its preparation of this conference. It's a good start. As proverb says, good beginning is half of success. I think I congratulate you. I congratulate the outgoing chair and now the new chair for this conference, and also all these governing bodies in the regional level, and to make this good start, good beginning. And also, of course, my manager team in Asia Pacific region, including the FAO representatives, directors in the country level. Many of you and your senior officials participated in national consultation late last year, early this year. I believe that those consultations will add the clarity and focus into the proceedings of today and tomorrow. And I have already paid dividends in sessions and discussions of a senior officials meeting and early this week. Another additional is the inclusion and consultation with the private sector representatives. We are grateful for your participation in the online discussions that were organized by the regional office. I'm also appreciate that the civil society organizations continue to add their voices to this regional conference. I think we can build up inclusiveness and solidarity for development of the Asia Pacific region. Excellencies and colleagues, as COVID-19 continues its rampage throughout the world, the poorest, the most vulnerable have been hit by the hardest. In this region, particularly in the densely populated countries of South Asia and the seas, some with few or no social safety nets, millions are suffering not just the health effect of the virus itself, but also severe social economic impact from the lost livelihoods. Even before the pandemic, we were not on track to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 1, SDG 2, which aims to defeat poverty and hunger worldwide. And it is here in this region that we found a larger proportion of the world undernourished. The negative effect related to the pandemic have been felt across the entire food system. Measures to control virus outbreak are disrupting global food supply chain. Border restriction and lockdowns are destroying livelihoods and hindering food transport. Food loss and waste is increasing as farmers must resort to the dumping perishables, and many people in able centers are struggling to access fresh food. Smallholder farmers are their families, food workers in all sectors, and those living in the commodity and the tourism demand economies are particularly vulnerable, as Bhutan is one of the most attractive tourist destination. So I was eager to visit your beautiful countries in person. But as Buddhists, they says, maybe it's not time to reach that destiny. Yuan in Chinese, 缘分没到. Once 缘分 is come, and we will make it happening. So be patient we are Buddhism philosophy. And so be patient and never to be late to be happiness. Yeah, you are the happiest country in the world. The agent need our attention. Equally, agent is the compounding threat of the pandemic or existing crises such as conflict, natural disasters, climate change, pests, plagues that are already stressing our food system and struggling food insecurity around the globe. We have recently presented the FAO COVID-19 response and recovery program, which spans 7 key priority areas. Please, all the ministers and the representatives, look at that the masterpiece of FAO COVID-19 response and recovery program, which actually are urgently needed in the 7 areas. I want to repeat here. Reinforce the global humanitarian response plan for COVID-19, improve data for decision-making, ensure economic inclusion and social protection to reduce poverty, bolster trade and food safety standards, boost the smallholder resilience for recovery, prevent the next zoonotic pandemic through the strengthened One Health approach, and trigger food system transformation. The program is aimed at preventing a global food emergency during and after the COVID-19 pandemic, while working on the media to the long-term development response for food security and nutrition. In line with the UN approach to build back better in the pursuit of the Sustainable Development Goals, it aims to mitigate the immediate impact of the pandemic while strengthening the future resilience of food system and the livelihoods. The program enables donors to leverage the organizational convening power, real-time data, early warning system, technical expertise to direct support where and when it is needed the most. And we must, as a priority, attend the most urgent issues at various source. We need to re-examine our food system and the value chains, make greater use of existing agricultural innovations, technologies, and consider new ones. The regional conference will have a special session on innovation tomorrow morning. That's one of the advantages in Asia Pacific region. I already read an article on that. The innovative technology in agricultural food system are special interesting for nowadays and the future. This is clearly reflecting our efforts to establish an Office of Innovation and an international platform for digital food and agriculture. So your region have a lot to share with other members in the world. And the concrete benefits of such innovative approach are tangible. For instance, in use of a mobile app called eLocust 3 to support the fight against one of the most dangerous migratory pest species in the world, the desert locust. The app is also an efficient monitoring early warning system that has contributed significantly to decline in the duration, severity, and frequency of devastating desert locust plugins in Africa, here in parts of Asia also. I'm hopeful, and that as soon as possible, innovation will provide similar tools to defeat other major threats that we're facing here in Asia and the Pacific region, such as fall armyworm and African swine fever. Indeed, leveraging agricultural technologies, include the cutting-edge technology for agri-food system, and the innovation is the wave of the future. And it's a wave that we must grow and grow. We need to take full advantage of a digital age through the innovative partnerships with national government, farmers and private sectors, academia, NGOs, and many others. This is why we introduced FAO Hand in Hand initiative. After this segment, so my chief economist, Maximo Torreira, he will introduce the Hand in Hand initiative, most powerful geospatial platform based on the big data. So I think also it's a good chance for you and for members to catch up with the digital world. This evidence-based country-led and country-owned initiative aims to accelerate agricultural transformation and sustainable rural development to eradicate poverty and hunger and all forms of malnutrition, SDG 1, SDG 2. In doing so, it's also contributed to attaining all of sustainable development goals. The initiative prioritized countries where national capacity and international support are the most limited or where the operational challenges, including natural and man-made rising, are the greatest. We are bolstering the initiative with state-of-the-art tools. The hand-in-hand geospatial platform, a GIS data platform that supports all stakeholders with rich, shareable data while respecting the proper protocols of data confidentiality. The platform also included the subnational system of donor information developed by the FAO and its partners. That's the first one in UN system of all the UN entities. We are first one to build those. Data lab for statistical innovation that implements the combined use of non-conventional data sources, big data, data science, and text mining method for decision making and impact assessment, while the timeliness is a crucial quality dimension. The point of all these initiatives is to get the latest knowledge and tools into the hands of the decision makers, but also smallholder farmers, fishers, herders, and foresters. And this is the region where the vast majority of smallholders are producing the food and agricultural products that we rely upon. Many of these smallholders are themselves mired in poverty and their families are food insecure. We know what rural life is like. I was born in the small village in Hunan province of China. When I saw the paddy rice field, any place in the Asia, I recall my childhood life until I graduated from university. Each summer, I always plant the paddy rice by hand that time. But now, of course, most of the places in China planted by machine. Yeah? Smallholders needed to be able to increase their productivity, marketing channels through the innovation and technology, which will benefit their livelihoods and their own food security. And that will help all of us meet the challenges of food insecurity and malnutrition. It is with this understanding that FAO is supporting the UN decades of family farming. Yeah? That's why my colleague, Bess Bedo, and others to produce this video to introduce what is should do the strengthen for UN decade of family farming in the region. I'm convinced that without improving rural prosperity, we cannot defeat global poverty or hunger. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm an agricultural scientist for many years, for more than 25 years before I became the local leaders of Muslim province and their ministers and now the FAO DG. It is my passion and has been my life work. My professional career of some 30 years in China has always allowed me to visit more than 100 countries, so I have seen how things work in different parts of the world. That's why I said I visited 3 times to the Asia Pacific island countries. And so I really understand what their concern, what their priority. Yeah. And of course, I visited other vulnerable parts of the world. Through the years, during these travels, I have met the hundreds of high-level officials from government, captains of industry, and the scientists. Of course, I met a lot of farmers. I had charts with different farmers in the world. And of course, I have so many touching feeling from farmers. I know the hardship they face. We need to bring all these actors together to make the real change by innovation, reform, and action. To realize the fundamental food system transformation, a transformation that will supply the nutritional, diversified food produced in a sustainable way to billions of children, women, and men in the Pacific region and globally. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, your region is huge, vast, and various, and you often have a different and very needs. So there is no one size fits all, no magic bullet or cure all of to hunger and poverty. But we can learn it from each other, share our knowledge, offer our expertise among members, stronger collaboration supported by the more dynamic regional conference. So I encourage my regional office also to create a more professional platform, let the members to share, learning each other. And the Asian people are quick learning, so you can learn each other and build your own capacity and advantage and competitiveness. I believe this is the path to make great progress. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, FAO will celebrate its 75th anniversary in a few weeks. We do so under difficult circumstances, but full of hope with a new FAO. And we take pride in fact that FAO remains a foremost global authority on two fundamental aspects of human civilization, food and agriculture. The work we do together, distinguished delegates, is the key for better tomorrow. From the bottom of my heart and full of determination, I invite you to continue being part of this great noble journey and mission. As I said before, 4 betters: better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life, not only for farmers and for the consumers. And I committed last year, 2019, lead to better world in a healthy and happy life. The world counting on this region vitality, endurance, and endurance for the world free of hunger, full of happiness. And before the end of my statement, I would take this opportunity to say again, I'm very much appreciate to all the contributors to make this meeting successful. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's delay.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Excellency. All the member countries of the Asia Pacific can very clearly see Your Excellency's vast experience, knowledge, and more so your passion in taking us forward in acquiring the food security. Thank you so much, and also for your special recognition of Bhutan's geographical position advantage to oversee our colleagues in the region and the world. Thank you so much, Excellency. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, please join me in congratulating His Excellency the Director General of FAO for his stimulating and inspiring remarks. I invite the members of the conference to show its appreciation to the Director General by using the clapping hands icon. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we will now take up agenda item 4, statement by the independent chairperson of the FAO Council, Mr. Khalid Mehboob. Sir, you have the floor.
Honorable Ministers, Director General, and distinguished guests, it is a privilege for me to participate in this 31st session of the FAO Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific, and to address this meeting in my role as independent chairperson of the FAO Council. This is the first FAO Regional Conference to be held in a virtual format, and I'm pleased that members are able to build on the successful experiences of the virtual meetings of the Council and its committees held earlier this year before sharing some thoughts on the issues that this regional conference will focus on. Please allow me to convey my appreciation to the Kingdom and people of Bhutan for their offer to host and their engagement in conducting this important meeting, which has to be held in a virtual format. Excellencies, the Asia and Pacific region is home to over half of the world's population and covers about 30% of the global landmass. This puts significant pressure on its natural resources in the context where undernourishment, climate change, and water scarcity are key challenges. The need to accelerate efforts to ensure food security and nutrition in the region is more relevant than ever. Despite the advancements witnessed in Southern Asia in the past few years, 279 million people in this sub-region are still undernourished, according to a recent FAO report. Without the concerted efforts of FAO and its members achieving SDG 2, eradicating hunger by 2030 is a daunting challenge. I take this opportunity to remind you of the importance of this conference in directing FAO to provide effective and targeted support to countries facing key challenges. Given the enhanced role of the regional conferences within the governance stream of the organizations since 2009, members here have the serious task of reviewing FAO's activities in the region and setting priorities for its future work. I'm certain that you will conduct this important work with diligence and enthusiasm. The COVID-19 pandemic and the measures to contain the virus have affected livelihoods, employment, agricultural activities, trade, and more. The coronavirus has implications of local, national, regional, and global policies, and it is important that global and local conditions alike are recognized when confronting this pandemic. Members at this conference will contribute the essential country and regional specific challenges and priorities regarding how the pandemic has affected and continues to impact the livelihoods of the populations in the Asia and Pacific. This is crucial to enable the organization to steer its response work in the most effective direction.
The voice is mute again.
The new Office of Sustainable Development Goals was welcomed by the recent session of the Council as an important step towards corporate engagement with Agenda 2030 and in assisting members in the achievement of the goals as well as their follow-up and review. The strengthening of the organization centers will enable strong collaboration with other UN agencies and international financial institutions, in line with the repositioning of the UN development system and the need to work in partnership to address complex and multifaceted issues at the country level. Another flagship innovation of FAO's new Director General, Dr. Chu, is the Hand in Hand initiative. This is an inclusive and holistic business model which aims to forge a broad spectrum of partnerships on the one hand and leverage FAO's technical capacity and data compendium on the other in order to deliver on food security and development. It will enable all stakeholders to take their respective responsibilities in a transparent manner and to work together towards the achievement of FAO's goals as well as the SDGs and Agenda 2030. This initiative is a country-led and country-owned approach and prioritizes those countries whose populations are at risk of being left behind. Priority countries include small island developing states, least developed countries, and landlocked least developed countries, as well as countries seeking to support to manage the impact of COVID-19 through the initiative. Activities are underway in 15 countries, and the geospatial platform has been launched with planned capacity development for members to access the platform. The initiative has been welcomed by the Council and its committees. This week, members of this regional conference will be informed of its key contributions that aim to accelerate progress towards the realization of the SDGs. Through linking different stakeholders, the program aims to reduce the vulnerabilities of rural poor through improved food systems capacities while utilizing FAO's data tools to identify investment gaps. A related topic of debate this week is e-agriculture. I note with enthusiasm the inclusion of the items on digitalization in food and agriculture and on leveraging digital agriculture for the SDGs on the agenda for this conference. These issues are pertinent in our efforts to ensure food production and trade and are capable of sustaining growing populations and meeting the challenges of an ever-changing world. Members will have the opportunity to discuss how digital technologies can and are transforming farming and the entire agricultural value chain. I encourage members to engage in the possibilities of agricultural innovation and to provide guidance to the organization on policy-level interventions. The hand-in-hand initiative and the drive for innovation in agriculture, in particular the availability of a substantial and meaningful data platform, are two sides of the same coin, which FAO must grasp firmly in order to serve its members effectively in years to come. It is important that these two concepts must work together, in other words, hand in hand, so to speak. Chairperson, Honorable Ministers, Director General, and distinguished delegates, as the organization's current strategic framework comes to a close, an important task is ahead of all of us. The 164th session of the Council look forward to inputs from the regional conferences to refine the roadmap for consultations on this important document. The new strategic framework to be adopted by the conference at its 42nd session in 2021 will be the blueprint guiding the direction of the organization into the future towards and beyond Agenda 2030. The regional priorities identified at this and other regional conferences will shape the basis of decision-making on the future strategic framework, which will also be informed by recommendations of the technical committees and the guidance of the Council and its committees. Chairperson, it's clear that urgent action is needed to address the challenges of rapidly increasing diet-related health concerns, damage to ecosystems, and the threat of climate change. In order to achieve the SDGs by 2030, food systems must be addressed. In 2021, the UN Secretary General will convene a UN Food Systems Summit, which reflects the prominence that the 2030 Agenda affords to improved health, nutrition, and ecosystems, and the key role food systems play in the achievement of these goals. The UN Secretary General, and indeed the 163rd session of the FAO Council in December 2019, recognized the central role of FAO in the Food Systems Summit and emphasized that members be fully involved in the preparatory process. In this regard, an informal group of friends to the summit has been established to provide a platform for members to contribute to the preparations towards the summit. Members will have opportunity under agenda item 14 to request clarifications and provide inputs for this summit. To conclude, Chairperson, this regional conference for Asia and the Pacific has a role to play in helping define FAO's policies in establishing the program of work and budget for the next biennium, as well as the next strategic framework. It also has a unique opportunity to give impetus to the drive begun by the Director General for Innovation at FAO, as well as the Hand in Hand initiative. I wish delegates to this conference fruitful deliberations and encourage clear outcomes. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Excellency, Mr. Mehboob. I invite members to join with me extending our appreciation to the independent chairperson of the FAO Council for his thoughtful remarks by using the clapping hands icon. We now move to Agenda 5. We will now watch the recorded statement of the chair of the 34th session of Asia Pacific Conference, which was hosted and held in Fiji in April 2018. The Honorable Minister, Dr. Mahendra Reddy, Minister for Agriculture, Waterways and Environment of Fiji, read this statement. We'll listen to the video statement.
Mr. Chairperson, Mr. Director General, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Government of the Republic of Fiji, it is an honor and a pleasure for me to address the 35th session of FAO Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific regarding the outcome of the 34th session of the Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific held at Denrau in Nadi, Fiji, from 9 to 13 April 2018. I take this opportunity to thank the Royal Government of Bhutan for hosting this virtual meeting of the 35th session of APRC and their initial willingness to have hosted the meeting in Bhutan. I need hardly add that we are meeting not in the beautiful country of Bhutan, but through the medium of internet because of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is an extraordinary time in the world. The coronavirus and COVID-19 pandemic has had serious deleterious effects on the agricultural sector. It has disrupted food systems, including food production, movement of agricultural labor, domestic and international trade, as well as on food consumption habits and food security. It is in this climate that the work of the Food and Agricultural Organization to combat hunger has greater importance than ever before in our lifetimes. FAO must now support member nations to take proactive steps to mitigate the negative effects of the coronavirus on the welfare and livelihoods of peoples, on national economies, labor, population mobility, and global trade. It must help to protect the most vulnerable peoples and strive to lift the impoverished out of poverty and hunger. I sincerely hope and pray that we will find the necessary tools to overcome this crisis and restore health to all peoples. I would like now to turn to the 34th session of the ARPC and give you a recap of the highlights and the most significant decisions of that meeting, which has informed the work of FAO. As you know, Fiji had the honor of hosting the 34th session of APRC in Nadi 2 years ago. The senior officers session was chaired by then Permanent Secretary for Agriculture of the Government of the Republic of Fiji, Mr. David Kolitangana. The ministerial segment was chaired by my predecessor, Honorable Inyabi Seriratu, who was then Minister for Agriculture, Rural and Maritime Development, National Disaster Management, and Meteorological Services of the Republic of Fiji. The regional conference was attended by representatives of 35 member countries. Observers attended from 1 non-member country, 14 international non-governmental organizations, and 4 intergovernmental organizations. Representatives of the 5 other UN organizations also participated. The final report, Conference Document C 2019/15, includes a summary of the main recommendations code requiring the attention of the Council, and another code requiring the attention of the Conference, unquote. The 34th session of the APRC considered several regional and global policy and regulatory issues, such as state of food and agriculture in the region, revitalizing the rural economy through enhanced linkages between small-scale agricultural production and value chains, promoting national nutritional policies and investments, and integrating nutritional objectives into food and agricultural policy, program design and implementation, and blue growth. Following the deliberations on these issues, the regional conference highlighted challenges related to the adverse effects of climate change, frequent natural disasters, environmental degradation, increasing demands on land and water resources, changing demographics affecting the agriculture sector, and animal and plant pests and diseases. It recognized the important roles of smallholders, family farmers, fishers in contributing to food security and nutrition, and called for efforts to enhance the capacity to more effectively link with modern value chains. It recommended that FAO assist countries in strengthening sector-specific contributions under the 2030 Agenda and to assist countries in enhancing systems for monitoring and reporting sector activities. FAO was urged to continue to support countries in integrating agriculture into their national policies, strategies, and programs for climate change and disaster risk reduction and management. The APRC emphasized capacity building, research and development, technology transfer, robust data collection and analysis, sound agricultural policies and strategies, infrastructure development, and increased investment in the agriculture sector as key needs. It stressed the need to increase sustainable agricultural production and productivity, reduce food loss and waste, and facilitate transparent, open, and efficient trade of food to accelerate progress towards food security, nutrition in the region. Food safety issues were noted, and the conference recommended that FAO integrate and mainstream food safety and nutrition in agriculture and food systems work. It recommended that FAO strengthen tripartite collaboration between the World Organization for Animal Health, the World Health Organization, and FAO. In order to reinforce capacities of countries, FAO was requested to provide guidance and capacity development for the design and modernization of food safety regulatory and control frameworks and indicators in the region. In a larger sense, FAO was asked to encourage a milieu for research and innovation that empowers industry, including micro, small, and medium enterprises, and smallholders to incorporate best international practices and voluntary standards, as well as securing food safety certification for improved market access. Regional conference underlined the need for continuity in strategic direction of the organization and appreciated the alignment between the FAO strategic objectives and the Sustainable Development Goals in guiding future actions in agriculture, food security, and nutrition, and welcomed alignment of FAO's strategic objectives with SDGs. The regional conference highlighted the importance of mobilizing investment and strengthening collaboration between partner organizations at global, regional, and national levels, including with research institutions, multilateral development institutions, civil society organizations, the private sector, and other regional and international organizations. The regional conference emphasized the value of regional sharing of knowledge, experiences, and expertise, including through South-South cooperation. The meeting also noted issues relating to decentralization and the prioritization of country and regional needs, recognizing the need to update the coverage of FAO offices in order to adapt to current developments and requirements. It appreciated steps taken to decentralize roles, responsibilities, authorities, and resources, and urged FAO to continue such decentralization efforts whilst improving the technical capacity of the organization. The conference reviewed and endorsed the draft multi-year program of the work 2018-2020 for the FAO Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific. The conference welcomed the joint communique of the first joint FAO and SPC meeting of the Ministers of Agriculture and Forestry held in Port Vila, Vanuatu in October 2017. The regional conference recommended that FAO provide technical assistance to develop specific solutions customized to the Pacific Small Island Development States. The conference emphasized the importance and efficacy of partnerships to effectively implement actions for food security and to deliver coordinated multi-sectoral actions through a sustainable food systems approach for healthy diets. The chairperson of the Committee on World Food Security updated the regional conference on the main outcomes of the CFS since the previous APRC in 2016 and the relevance of this work to the FAO Regional Conference. In particular, the chairperson noted the critical role of women's empowerment, rural-urban dynamics, including the challenges of urbanization and rural transformation, responsible investments in agriculture, and governance of land tenure, amongst many other areas, as well as delivering policy recommendations on sustainable livestock and forests, and connecting smallholders to markets. We are pleased that the senior officers' meetings earlier this week substantively discussed progress made on FAO's priorities in the region during 2018-2019, the priorities for the current biennium. We have noted that FAO now proposes an improved approach to the implementation in the Asia and the Pacific region during the 2020-21 biennium with 4 enhanced regional initiatives and the introduction of 14 programmatic areas of focus that will ensure the delivery of tangible and measurable results for the greater impact. These priorities for FAO's work are very important, and we hope they will build on the early achievements and enhance FAO's contributions to agricultural and rural development and food security in the Asia and the Pacific region. I thank you for your kind attention and express my full confidence that this conference will meet its objectives and provide sound policy guidance to FAO. Vinakavakaliv.
Thank you. I'm sure that members will join with me in congratulating the chairperson of the 34th session of FAO Regional Conference for Asia and Pacific for the excellent statement that summarized the highlights of the previous meeting. In this conference, as in the previous one, namely the need to integrate agriculture into national policies, strategies and programs to fight malnutrition and to combat climate change and to implement disaster risk reduction and management. I invite the conference to show its appreciation to the chair and to the government of Fiji with the clapping hands icon. Now we move on to agenda item 6, the statement of the joint FAO SPC Ministers for Agriculture and Forestry meeting that was held in Apia, Samoa from September 30 to October 1st, 2019. I would like to request the Honorable Minister for Agriculture of Samoa to deliver the statement on the communique of the second joint FAO SPC Ministers of Agriculture and Forestry. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I am going to be very short and brief. Honorable Chairman, ministerial colleagues from Asia and the Pacific, Excellency Director General of Food Agricultural Organization, ladies and gentlemen. Very good evening to you. This is at 7 o'clock or almost 8 o'clock in Samoa at night. I have the honor on behalf of my Pacific ministerial colleagues to present a brief statement on the communique of the second joint FAO and SPC Pacific Ministers for Agriculture and Forestry meeting that was convened in Apia, Samoa on the 4th of October 2019 during the second Pacific Week of Agriculture, PWA. The meeting was co-organized by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the Pacific Community with attendance of ministers from Cook Islands, Fiji, French Polynesia, Kiribati, Niue, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tokelau, Tonga, and Vanuatu, and heads of delegation from American Samoa, Australia, Guam, Marshall Islands, Nauru, New Caledonia, New Zealand, Palau, Tuvalu, Wallis, and Futuna. The meeting was also attended by representatives of resource partners, UN, regional and international organizations, academia and research institutions, and civil societies. Various topics were discussed and agreed by the ministers, including the following: partnerships of nutrition-sensitive food systems in the Pacific, Coronavirus joint work on agriculture in the Pacific, International Year of the Plant Health 2020, and the platform for future Pacific Week of Agricultural Events. The ministers also endorsed the outcome report of the heads of agriculture and forestry services that was held on the 1st and 2nd of October 2019 during PWA. French Polynesia also expressed a desire to be an associate member of FAO in the Pacific. The details of the second joint FAO and SPC Pacific Ministers for Agriculture and Forestry meeting communique are available in the official document APRC/20/INF/9. Honorable Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. I will speak again at a later time to give our national government statement, but thank you for the opportunity to present the report from our Pacific Week of Agriculture last year. Good evening and thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Please enjoy your evening. Your Honor, for this update about the significant work from the Pacific on nutrition, climate change, and agricultural development. Thank you once again, Excellency. I invite the distinguished delegates to express their appreciation by using the clapping hands icon. Now we are now moving to agenda number 7, the statement by the chairperson of the Committee on World Food Security. I would like to request Mr. Thanawat Thinsin, permanent representative of Thailand to Rome-based UN agencies, the chairperson of the Committee on World Food Security, to deliver his statement. Mr. Thinsin, sir, you have the floor now.
Very good morning from Rome, and also good afternoon in Asia and Pacific. Chairpersons, honorable ministers, excellencies, independent chairs of the Council, FAO Director Generals, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here with you today as chairperson of the Committee on World Food Security, CFS. I would like to thank the Royal Government of Bhutan and also FAO Director Generals for this invitation to address to this first virtual FAO regional conference ever, to tell you about the most recent accomplishment of the Committee on World Food Security, CFS, and inform you of the activities of the CFS that we will undertake in the upcoming months. We are living in unprecedented times. A mere few months earlier, none of us would have imagined that we would be where we are today. The COVID-19 has changed our life as we know it. Apart from the health challenges, the pandemic has also caused great harm to the global hunger and nutrition situations. The CFS is concerned that these new trends might lead to the new food crisis and further impair the achievement of the SDG 2 and other related targets of the 2030 agenda. We must take urgent actions to transform our food systems. The world needs sustainable food system to deliver healthy food for healthy diets for a healthy planet. and we need your help, and we need your action to work together. Perhaps not many of you know about CFS, the Committee on World Food Securities. The committee was established in 1974 in response to the devastating famine in Bangladesh at that time, which focused international attention on this topic. In that year, the very first World Food Conference met in Rome at FAO headquarters. And to back up this commitment, the international community agreed to create the Committee on World Food Security, CFS, as well as International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, and also the Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research, CGIAR, as all of you know. For 45 years, CFS kept a close eye on current and prospective supply, demand, and food stock positions, disseminating timely update to the global community to assure the adequacy of global food stocks. However, following another food crisis, the food price shock of 2007 to 2008, CFS was reformed to be better equipped to address the serious problems around food securities, and members that you agree in 2009 to a massive overhaul of the committee, broadening its ownership to the three Rome-based United Nations agencies, FAO, IFAD, and WFP, expanding it to become a multi-stakeholder platform to include civil society, private sectors, and other key development actors, and creating a high-level panel of experts, HLPE, to provide science and knowledge to inform its deliberations and decision-making process. In this new CFS has three main strategic objectives, with health, channel CFS, energies, and resources toward activities that effectively respond to the need of the food insecure and malnourished people. First, CFS want to be the foremost inclusive and international and intergovernmental platform to discuss the food securities and nutrition situation and coordinate collective actions at all levels. Second, CFS has been reformed to develop voluntary global policy guidance for policy convergence and coherence to achieve food securities for policy food securities and improve nutrition and promote the progressive realization of the right to adequate food. Third, the CFS want to foster the uptake, follow-up, and reviews and sharing experience and best practices at the country level on the use and application of the CFS policy guidance at all levels. Since the reform of the CFS in 2009, CFS has already achieved some striking accomplishment. As mentioned by the chairperson of the 34th APRC earlier, several CFS policy products has been adopted and implemented at the country level with support of FAO and other stakeholders and also member states. For example, the voluntary guideline on responsible governance of tenure of land, fisheries, forestries in the context of national food safety, as you know, VGGT, has been implemented and adopted at the country level with support of FAO in 140 countries. These guidelines help the government to reform the land legislation and help farmers to get access to land, which actually it linked to improve their better livelihood. And other products, the principle for responsible investment in agriculture and food system right principle, which recently during the G20 ministerial meeting is also discussed on the responsible investment of agriculture. It's very crucial. And the next one is the framework of action for food securities and nutrition in protected crisis. And CFS still produce a lot of policy recommendation, which actually some of you have seen before. And these CFS policy outcomes are providing developed and developing countries with effective instruments for combating hunger and malnutrition. And in October last year, CFS 46 approved a new multi-program of work for 2020 to 2023 with 4 new work streams on genders, youth inequalities, and data system for food securities and nutrition. And we need your support and we need your commitment to work with CFS. This year, CFS is being addressed 2 topics with 2 new major policy products expected to be negotiated during this year and the early of next year, which will be presented these 2 policy products to the members for endorsement at CFS 47 in February 2021. The first product is policy recommendation on agroecological and other innovative approach. And another product is voluntary guideline on food system and nutrition. In a matter of fact, the negotiation for the voluntary guideline on food system and nutrition are starting virtually next week. And I hope to see your full engagement. These 2 policy products will feed, we hope that these 2 policy products will feed to the discussion of the UN Food System Summit 2021. If we want this inclusive process of CFS to generate policy recommendation with the strongest possible legitimacy and the highest level of impact, we need all members and all stakeholders to participate actively and constructively. We must add value to our debates, take full ownership of the outcome, and make every effort to implement the policy recommendations emanated by CFS, particularly as they pertain to all of us. This is my message for you today. I'm here to make an appeal to each of you to reach out to those that are not here today at all levels and to help me spread the voice with them about the work of the Committee on World Food Security, CFS, and the tremendous impact that we can achieve only by working together. Excellencies, ministers, colleagues, we all agree that achieving food security and sustainable food system is a matter of greatest urgency, even more so after the coronavirus pandemic has exposed the vulnerabilities and weaknesses of already fragile food system. What I wish to do here is to let you know that the Committee on World Food Security, CFS, exists to support you on the road ahead to reaching SDG 2 and fulfilling the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I hope to meet you all virtually at the high-level special event that CFS, with support of FAO and other agencies, is organizing on October 13 to 15 next month. And then we will welcome you in Rome, hopefully, if COVID-19 allow us, at the next sessions of the Committee on World Food Security in February 2021 to continue our conversations. And also tomorrow during the Agenda 13, another session will discuss on the work of the Committee on World Food Security as well. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, again, I wish to thank FAO for great contribution and support to the Committee on World Food Security. And the committee will work hand in hand with FAO and other 3 Rome-based agencies, members, and all stakeholders. Together, we must build back better. Thank you very much for your attention.
Kun Dhanawat, Khapkun Khap.
Thank you, Khapkun Khap. Thank you very much. Thank you.
For your meaningful contribution. So I invite the members to show their appreciation by using clapping hands icon. We are now moving to agenda number 8, the statement by spokesperson of the civil society consultation. I have the pleasure to request the distinguished spokesperson of the civil society consultation, Chimipiwan, the Secretary General of the Tarayana Foundation, Bhutan, to deliver the statement for agenda number 8. Chimi, you have the floor.
Kadichila, Kuzuzangpo, I'm Chimi Wongdi from Tarayana Foundation, Bhutan, and I have the honor of reading the CSO statement on behalf of 43 leaders from 26 CSOs from the Asia-Pacific region, representing constituencies of small-scale farmers, landless agriculture workers, fishers and fish workers, pastoralists and herders, forest dwellers, ethnic minorities, and indigenous peoples, urban poor, consumers, NGOs, women, and youth, who met in Bangkok in January to prepare for engaging in FAO's 35th APRC. We offer a warm welcome to all of you. We had hoped to be able to meet in our beautiful country, but the COVID-19 pandemic has reduced it to a virtual meeting instead. We in Bhutan are most fortunate to have a wise and compassionate king who continues to lead from the front lines to ensure the safety and well-being of its people. Having a surgeon as a prime minister has helped Bhutan make timely and informed science-backed decisions. We are just easing out of our first nationwide lockdown. We experienced some disruption in food supply in the first few days of the lockdown. However, volunteers and government agencies distributed essential foods and vegetables nationwide so that no family goes hungry. The government initiated a program to buy back produce from the farmers to buffer the farmers' income on one hand and to ensure steady food supply to where needed on the other. The pandemic has made ordinary citizens realize the value of local, healthy food, and governments are noting the need to be more self-reliant in domestic agricultural production through inclusive value chains. Family farmers all over Asia and Pacific became food heroes and frontliners as they took initiatives to cope with the crisis. They distributed emergency food packs, established farmers' markets in partnership with homeowners associations in the cities, started online delivery of essential food items, partnered with local government for emergency food procurement and distribution of seeds to farmers, started collective buying and selling centers, as well as community-based processing for spices, root crops, and several utilized crops, and last but not least, continue to farm through sustainable, resilient agroecological approaches. The pandemic has proven that the industrial food system endangers humanity. The crisis highlights the need to create a more resilient, pandemic and climate-proof food system, a food system that is sustainable, productive and prosperous, equitable and inclusive, empowering and respectful, resilient, regenerative, healthy and nutritious, and above all, underpinned by the right to food. How do we build forward better? We have a 12-point list of major recommendations, but in the interest of time, we narrowed it down to 5. 1, arrest the drivers of disruption of sustainable food systems, such as uneven trade agreements and land grabbing. Implement and apply the principles stated in the VGGT, RAI and SSF guidelines as just referred to by the honorable previous speaker. 2. Support local governments to directly procure from groups of small-scale producers, following examples such as China's Vegetable Basket Program. 3. Support the development of shorter supply chains, accessible to and controlled by smallholders and local communities. 4. Promote locally appropriate and accessible digital systems for verification and sales of farmers' products. 5. Address issues of water scarcity in farms and forests through a recognition of people's right to water and through investments in integrated water resources and ecosystems management. Yes, we must act together. By including smallholders and indigenous peoples as equal partners and key actors in repairing and strengthening food systems, we unleash the potentials of millions to implement the action plan of the UN Decade of Family Farming, promoting the UN Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the UN Declaration on the Rights of Peasants, which in turn will accelerate the achievement of the SDGs, especially SDG 1 and SDG 2, hopefully all in this decade. Overall, we must re-examine the economic and society's measure of success, overconsumption and overproduction as embodied in gross national product. As countries, societies, and communities look for alternative economic models that center on people's well-being, allow me to direct you and to be inspired by the legacy of His Majesty, the Fourth King, to the people of Bhutan, gross national happiness, a holistic approach to development that looks at sustainable and equitable socio-economic development, environmental conservation, preservation and promotion of culture and good governance. We enjoin FAO and member states to look at food systems and our economies in light of achieving gross regional happiness. Thank you for your attention. Tashidele.
Katiche Chime for speaking on behalf of the civil society and for delivering this very engaging statement. I invite the members to show their appreciation by using the clapping hands icon. Now we are ready to hear agenda item number 9, statement by the spokesperson of the private sector consultation. I have now the pleasure to call upon Grami Dixie, Executive Director of the Grow Asia and the Private Sector Consultation, spokesperson to present a statement on behalf of the private sector. As the chair, I'm aware that this is the first regional conference for Asia and Pacific where FAO has invited the private sector to speak to the members. Mr. Digit, sir, you have the floor. Mr. Dicey, did I pronounce wrongly? Mr. Dicey, sir, you have the floor.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. My name is Graham Dixie. I'm the Executive Director of Grow Asia. We're not a private sector company ourselves, but we are a network of multi-stakeholder partnerships of the private sector, the producers, the civil society, and governments. We have about 500 members across 6 countries. And it is indeed a privilege to be able to bring the voice of what the private sector is thinking and saying. And I think for you, the Ministers of Agriculture, it will be a refreshing view. It will be a practical view. And it will be a view that not only states the world as it is, but also focuses on the world as it is likely to be in the future. We spoke to 50 companies and to 10 different networks, and those fragmented different opinions came together in quite a consensus. The first point they made was that the food and agriculture system is changing. It's changing rapidly, and it's very difficult to predict how it will change. The second thing that came out was the extreme worry about environmental environmental degradation, and climate change. Food is increasingly an issue in their heads about food safety, about hygiene, about food waste, about nutrition, about health. They also stated a deep concern about the farming sector itself. The fact that the population of farmers is aging and people are leaving farming and farming jobs in droves. And the question they raised is, who is going to be our producers in the future? And our consultation happened before COVID, but they had the prescience to say the food systems we have are fragile. And we know that there are going to be a number of extreme events and unexpected events in the pipeline. We need to have greater resilience. And I think what they were saying was this, that the farming systems we have at the moment are not fit for purpose into the future. And the second thing is that we must be aware of walking into the future looking backwards. So those are the sort of threats. The opportunity is this one, and as the DG of FAO pointed out, if we're really going to tackle rural poverty, the raw material for doing that is, and it's brutally honest, it's cash. It's cash rolling into the rural economy. And the good news here is the spend on food and groceries in our region is going to go up from about 4 trillion to 8 trillion over the next decade. That means there's going to be a lot more money flowing around, primarily out of urban consumers. And the challenge for us to make sure that that money doesn't flow offshore to buy imports, but it flows into the pockets of farmers and into the rural economies, providing jobs and opportunities. So what we say is that, and we preach to our members, that governments are always part of the solution. But we would say to you, Ministers of Agriculture, that the private sector is also part of that solution. And there is a misapprehension, and people often misunderstand and think the agricultural enterprise sector is all the same. It's not. There is a group, surely, who are only interested in the bottom line and never think beyond that. But there is another group who are sitting on the sidelines seeing what sustainability, what inclusive business models look like, and do they work? And there's a third group of courageous managers and companies that are risking often their own careers to try out new ideas, new ways of operating. And often those people are members of these multi-stakeholder partnerships, because the value of multi-stakeholder partnerships is that if you can get the public sector, the private sector, and the producers to have a sensible conversation, the balance of probabilities is they can make better decisions. And we can see it in many of the countries that do better than you expect in agriculture, have these as a primary requirement. So what's the messages we've been sending out? The first one was the comparative advantage of FAO in data, in analysis, and in learnings. On data, we can see that with computing power and so on, we can see that FAO's concept of being able to benchmark countries against one another will be a powerful force for positive movement. The second one is analysis. We hear multiple different projections of what they want the world to look like in the future. But by creating scenarios of what farming could look like and food systems will create us all a stronger vision of what we need to be working towards. And finally, learning, that the extraordinary learning sector of the world of FAO and its online learning could be used to be able to send out proper messages about how agricultural enterprise can work better in food safety, reducing food losses, and etc. So that's the kind of opportunity. What I wanted, the next thing is that we definitely need to be able to encourage the cadre of a group of younger, better and more professional farmers who have the capacity to be able to make a sensible livelihood out of farming. That will keep them on the land area. We also expect to see surrounding those farms a network of businesses that provide services. They do the ploughing, they provide the drones, they bring in the labor force, they provide the artificial insemination. We expect to see this. And what we have seen in the region is an incredible generation of young entrepreneurs keen to get into the sector, starting SMEs. And they have said to us the problems that we face is the incredible regulatory burdens that are put on us, which are the same for a big company as it is for us. Our access to finance is difficult, and we would love to learn, hence the link back to FAO and its online training courses, which the private sector has said we can work with to get out really practical information and top global best practices. And just finally, I want to just cover off a couple of things, why it is important that the private sector is part of this combined conversation. You know, take the fall armyworm, a serious pest of maize that's arisen in the season in our region. Initially, they tried to form a roundtable and marginalize the private sector. The ASEAN Ministers of Agriculture had a different idea and asked Ministry of Agriculture in Vietnam and ourselves to draw together a consultation, bringing the public sector and the private sector to discuss this. And in 6 months, they've created a common plan for a regional approach to how to handle this, how to map out the resistance, where the pest is going, sharing best practices in communication. And the second one is in COVID. You know, we've brought together 4 working groups, 100 people from both the public sector, the private sector, the producers, and governments and donors. And what they focused on was a broader range of issues. They focused on how critical it is that we try and bring to the rural logistics the kind of innovation we see in urban logistics, ways of consolidating loads, ways of putting those consolidated loads out to the private sector to bid for and to attract in empty backhauls. We've seen the point about mobile money, a fantastic example out of Cambodia. But this is critically important because farmers don't take credit cards. They work in a cash economy. But digital mobile money provides the opportunity for them to receive payment in digital and convert it into cash through a network of agents. And it also opens something else out, which is not only smart subsidies, but if we are going to get digital marketing working, we definitely need to have e-wallets. And finally, underpinning all of these is solutions based on digital. And the discussions came up around sharing data between the public sector and private sector, and that the concerns about privacy and who owns that data can be resolved. But it would enable you, the Ministers of Agriculture, to know your customer, know your client, service them better. And finally, we definitely need to be able to improve the Wi-Fi network. And in many countries, you have universal access funds, which have not yet been utilized. These come together with a broader view of not just farming, not just agribusiness, but the broader agro ecosystem to create a modern farming system that is fit for purpose to drive this and to take advantage of this increasing demand from particularly the urban consumer. Over.
For this very interesting statement. I invite the members to show their appreciation by using the clapping hands icon.